Hey y'all, and welcome back to the start of another video. So today is a little different. We're going to talk about books, and if you have seen my last video, yes, this was the same day. I'm wearing the same outfit. I actually was going to end that video talking about books, but then I started recording and it was 12 minutes long, so I was like, I might as well just make my own separate video for this and just let that trip and Brandon's little Halloween festivities be a separate video. So I wanted to talk about the books I've been recently obsessed with and all the books that I've bought recently. So I feel like due to the world circumstances, people have picked up a lot of new hobbies, and those including reading. And reading is not new for me. I've done more of it since graduating because I feel like when you're a student, the last thing you kind of want to do after reading and studying all day is pick up another book. At least that's my opinion. So anyway, over the past couple months, I've accumulated quite a lot of books. And I've been trying to go through them. For me, reading nonfiction books takes me a lot longer because usually the purpose of them for me is to learn and to grow. And so I really like digest the chapters and stuff. And so it just tends to take me a lot longer. I was joking with, I don't know if I've mentioned this in a video already, I was joking with my boyfriend saying like usually I have a 50-page maximum because I've noticed in a lot of books that I've started, I get about 50 pages into it and then I stop because I just find myself being like, it's so hard for my brain to just keep going. And sometimes a lot of nonfiction, I feel like it can get repetitive. So I love a good book that's like 200 pages or less and it just hits hard every single chapter, you know what I'm saying? So with that said, I thought I will go through the books I've been loving. So I think I'll start off with the ones that I haven't read yet but I've gotten, because I can't really give you my opinion on them, but if you've read them, I'd love to hear your opinion. So first one I'll mention is this book by Mark Batterson. So I actually have The Circle Maker, which is why I got this book. So this is one of those 50 pages that I've read, and I really enjoy it. So I feel like a book does a good job if something sticks out in your mind for the rest of your life. Like I remember the first story in this book about the guy that prays for rain. I can't tell you what country he was in and I can't tell you his name, but I can tell you that he prayed for rain. And so I should go back in, and I obviously am going to one day read this again all the way through. And I had another book. Oh, so the reason I got this book a long time ago, something that I've always wanted to grow in at every point in my life, is prayer. And I just think it's so vital in Christian day life because it's literally a conversation with our Creator. So what's more important than that, you know? And I think that there's so many facets to it. As simple as it is, like it's just like me hanging out with my best friend. That's what I always equate it to. It's like you kicking it back, you asking them for advice, it's you celebrating things with them. It's all the things. It's like any relationship, and in addition to it being a conversation, I also think that prayer is a weapon. And I feel like there's so many things that I've yet to know and grow in, and a lot of times I'll wish like I could have 80-year-old Bailee wisdom in my 23-year-old brain and body. But I know that's not how it works, and we just have to go on this journey with the Lord every day, and then we grow, you know, through it. So anyway, I got this book back in school, and it's called Growing in Prayer by Mike Bickle, because he actually came to my university and he gave us books, so that's awesome. So these are my prayer seeking books, but the reason that I picked up this one was because of The Circle Maker. And I feel like a lot of racers come off the field and people coming off of like missions in general with a lot of hopes in their heart and dreams. And so their tagline for this book is, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. And I just like really enjoyed that, and I think I read some pages in it and I thought it sounded interesting. So eventually we'll give this a go, but if anyone's read the books that I'm gonna mention and love them or didn't like them or whatever, I would love to know. So randomly, I also got a history book. I've never been a history buff, but recently I found myself wanting to just like know more. I always wanted to take a class over the 1900s in high school, but that was not offered at my school. So whenever I get in a history mood, I guess I'll just pick that one up. I don't know if it's any good, but we'll see. Okay, so let's talk about this book. This is Scary Close by Donald Miller. So the reason I have this book is because I saw my brother Brandon reading it, and I was like, oh my goodness, that looks so good. And he talked about it and it sounded really good, and he was like, well, you can read it. And then I went to the bookstore and I got the book Blue Like Jazz. I don't have it with me currently because I passed it along to my boyfriend for him to read, but eventually I'll get it back because that is like my favorite book of all times, guys. Brandon told me that I should read Blue Like Jazz first before Scary Close, so I'm excited to read this one. I finished Blue Like Jazz a couple months ago. Y'all, I love that book. The way he writes is so conversational. It was like I'm sitting there listening to him tell stories, and the thing I loved about it was that it just really gave me more perspective of people's journeys with the Lord, because I know my journey and like the ins and outs of that and what my brain thought and what my heart felt through the whole process. But that book gave me so much perspective on what another Christian might feel and think, and coming to know the Lord in college or coming to know the Lord in their 40s or 60s, you know, not at such a young age. So it just gave me a lot of perspective. So I'm excited to read Scary Close because Blue Like Jazz is so good. Okay, so let's talk about this one. I haven't read yet. It's by John C. Maxwell. It's called Winning with People. The little tagline says, discover the people principles that work for you every time. I feel like that's self-explanatory. It's one of those like, this is how you can do better kind of books, I feel like. And then let's see, I was going to talk about the next books that I've actually been reading, but I was going to start with these ones because these are 2 books written by John Eldredge and Stacy or Stassi. I don't actually know how to say her name. Eldredge. So it's by the Eldredges, and this is Wild at Heart. You can't tell because there is nothing on it. And then this is Captivating. So this is like the guys read this, the girls read this, but I think you should read both. I think it's very insightful. I think it's well done, and I just feel like it's just a classic staple like young adult read, but anybody can read it, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, because I had already read a John Eldredge book, I picked this one up a couple months ago. It's called A Sacred Romance, and it's really I feel like was the catalyst for a lot of thoughts I've had about the love of God over the past couple months. So once I started reading this, I just found myself being like, wow, God is so in love with me and so pursuant of me. And I just have seen that in all the things. Like, it's crazy how much like the Lord loves us, and I've just seen it in the way like when I'm hanging out with my dogs, like the Lord speaks to me through them because they're so excited to see me and they're so in awe of everything, and like just the creation, like sunsets and mountains. And something silly for me is like gas prices, and when they're super cheap, I'm like, man, God so loves me, because I equate low gas prices to like going on road trips, and that brings me joy. And he's like, Bailee, I love you. Like, it sounds maybe ridiculous, but I've just started seeing like all the small things. Like, my favorite things is like him romancing me, which sounds crazy, but it's what he's doing, you know? And I just think that's so good. So I'm about halfway through this book, maybe a little over half, and it's a good one. And then some Devo books I picked up. So because I finished this one, I talked about it in the video of my brother and sister-in-law when they were getting married. I talked about this Devo book. It's really good, by Lisa Bevere. I definitely encourage, it's definitely written for females, I believe, and I encourage all girls to read this. It's so good. It's short, like it's 1 page or 2 pages. It's all like this, and there are different topics. Let's see: strong in God, strong in spirit, strong in purity, strong in truth, strong in relationships, strong in battle, strong in grace, strong in self-control, strong in freedom, strong in holiness. So it's quite a few topics, and I feel like she's just very like honest about like the things that she talks about, and so I thought it was really good. It's really fast to read in the mornings or evenings whenever you do your Devo time, and it's just good. So I'll probably read that one again at some point, or give it to someone, or do something with it, because it's good. I shouldn't just keep it on my shelf, you know? It's one of those books I should pass along. Then I also, when I finished that Devo book, I was like, hey, well, I need a new one. So I picked up 2. This is A Jesus Calling. I feel like that's the most classic like Devo book that I've heard of, and I've never read it. So Jesus Calling, when I was flipping through the pages, is like the perspective of Jesus writing to us. so maybe I'll read you one. This one says, come to me with your plans held in abeyance. I don't know that word actually. Worship me in truth and worship me in spirit and in truth, allowing my glory to permeate your entire being. Trust me enough to let me guide you through this day, accomplishing my purposes and my timing. Subordinate your myriad plans to my master plan. I am sovereign over every aspect of your life. And then there's more, but I thought, oh, that's really good to read it from like the Lord's perspective, but I also wanted like a traditional Devo book. So I picked this one up, Mornings and Evenings with Charles Spurgeon. And first, so as you can see here at the top, there's like text for you to read, and then, well, this is in the Bible, like scriptures for you to read, and then this text. So I thought the two of them went together at first, so I was reading this and then I read that and I was like, the two of those don't go together in any respect. So I stopped doing that and I just read my normal thing in the Bible. And so what I love about it is sometimes your girl struggles to get herself out of bed in the morning. I'm really working hard to be better at this because I think it's so crucial to start your day off with the Lord, because I just noticed personally my day just goes completely different when I've started it in the Word and in prayer and praise. Obviously, like, sometimes our lives demand our time to be altered, but I think also sacrificing that time in the morning, which is a discipline I'm learning and striving for, and I'm definitely nowhere near perfect at it right now. But anyway, what I love about this during this time where I'm working on it is that there's the morning and then the evening. So a lot of times when I haven't read my Bible in the morning, I'll have read this in the morning, and then I'll read my Bible during my lunch break or right after work, and then I'll read this in the evening sometimes. So it's been really good. I was telling my boyfriend, he actually read this, and then another girl on my squad, but I just happened to pick it up. I didn't even know that this was the one he had read, but it looked familiar to me, so I was like, is that the Devo book you read? And it was. But there was one that I read, and I think it was one of the first ones. It was either the very first one or the second one, and I was like, it went straight over my head because he used really big words. I think it was the very first one because I have notes in that one. And I was just like, what does this word mean? And I remember myself Googling so many of the words. And he was like, that's how all of my seminary courses are. And I was like, oh my goodness. So anyway, I thought that's how all of it was going to be. And I was not going to be about that because I was like, I want to be able to understand the text. So anyway, it's been really good. And I'm just a couple weeks into it. So highly recommend. And then the last two books I'll talk about, I think these are the last ones I have, this is by Jefferson Bethke. It's Not What You Think. So I actually listened to Jeff and Alyssa's podcast. Oh, what's it called? I'm sure if you look up the Bethkes, it'd probably, I think it's called The Real Life Podcast. I hope that's their podcast. Maybe it's someone else's. I don't know. But anyway, if you Google them, they'll come up. He actually, so I had heard him speak on the podcast, so that's what kind of alerted me when I saw this book. I was like, oh, I remember him like saying really thought-provoking things, so that's why I picked up this book. And I'm not that far into it. I'm on page 79. It's a couple of chapters, chapter 4. So they're pretty big chapters, actually. They're like 20 pages or more. But I kind of like that. Sometimes I like really small chapters. This is what I love about books too, is that there's such a variety out there. So whatever you're in the mood for, you can just kind of pick it up. So I love that I have a variety. A lot of these obviously are Christian books, but they're all on different things. So that's kind of nice. But like I said, so nonfiction, like self-help books or Christian books, or like I have books about consumerism. I think I have one right here. I read one of them when I was at my last job before the race. I also have this one, just because I really enjoyed learning about consumer behavior and stuff like that. Like, anyway, I just love that. I don't know. I just love the variety of books. It's just kind of, it's exactly like watching a TV show or a movie. But the cool thing is, it's like two people can read the same book and like imagine something completely different. Like characters, if they're not given specific attributes, you see them completely different. And I think that's so cool, like how you form your own world within the text that the author has given you. Anyway, that was so random. Back to what I was saying is nonfiction, slower pace. Fiction, fly through it. I'm pretty sure this is fiction, but also it could be real life story. I'm not sure. But it's written by Kara Wall, and this is the first book I've ever read by her. It actually was just a random book that I picked up as I was walking out of the store. I saw it laying there, and I kind of wanted something that I could just like read and not have to like sit there and think about it. And it actually, guys, it's so good. I feel like this book was written for Bailee, because it's about, there are two couples in this book, and it starts off, I don't want to give away anything, but it starts off with what I think the end is gonna be almost. There's an event that happens at the beginning, and then it splits it up. So the first chapter is about one of the couples, and it's like them being children and their childhood, and then it switches to the second couple and their individual childhoods, and then it goes back to the other couple, and it's like more their teenage years and then going to college, and then it flips back and forth between the two couples. And so I've gotten to the part where the two couples have actually met, and then like they've met their spouses, so both of them have gotten married, they're in their own couple lives, and then I assume the two couples are going to cross paths at some point, but I haven't gotten to that part. Anyway, it's really good because it's also kind of like John Miller's Blue Eyed Jazz, and how it's giving me more perspective of like the Christian walk and how people come to know like the Lord and their struggles with it and like their hesitancies. And also like, it's so good. They talk about, one of the characters is like, I don't know if I believe in, they just feel like I don't even know how to explain it. I can't, guys. You guys just gotta, I don't know, you gotta read the book. It's so good. It's so well written. I love that it jumps back and forth. At first I was like, I'm never gonna keep straight who is who, but as you keep reading, you put it together, like the names begin to attach to the stories. Anyway, so good. This video is already so long, so I'm gonna end it here. I have way more books on my shelves, and yeah, so I better get to reading. But I hope you guys enjoyed this random little book tour. And let me know if you have any comments. If you're watching this and you're my friend or family, send me a text or something. I want to know if you have any recommendations. Obviously I have a lot of books to get through, so maybe give me a couple years. Just kidding. You can send me your suggestions anytime. Anyway, I need to end this video, so I hope you guys are having a great day, whatever day of the week it is, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, pals.